Live across the Great Lakes State, you're connected to Michigan's most engaging and influential radio and television program, Michigan's Big Show, starring Michael Patrick Shields, presented by Blue Cross, Blue Shield of Michigan, and Blue Care Network.
I'm producer and creative director Tony Cuthbert.
I am world correspondent Nikki Sciavatoni.
This is meteorologist John McMurray.
Now in the shadow of the Capitol Dome in Lansing, he's heard from the beaches of Lake Michigan to the halls of power and behind closed doors. Here's Michigan's Michael Patrick Shields.
Hey, how you doing, sir? I'd just like to thank you for such an informative show. If the rest of the country had a big show, they wouldn't have to watch Fox for a half hour and then CNN to get both sides.
I listen to you and all the various folks you have on. You have the rich, the famous, the infamous, the notorious on your show. and you just sound real with everybody. And I think that comes across, and that's why you have so many listeners. And you're the radio voice of the year there.
Michael Patrick Shields is on the air.
Good morning, world.
Good morning, Michigan. A very pleasant Thursday to you, Michael Patrick Shields. Radio stations across the state of Michigan. Maybe yesterday you were watching the Democrat debate. Michael Bloomberg hasn't released his tax returns yet, and the other candidates, of course, were taking shots at him for that. It harkens back to President Trump, who still hasn't released his tax returns. And he said, I'm paraphrasing. Now, he's the world's 9th richest person, and his returns, he said, fill thousands of pages, and releasing them takes time. And he made the quip, I just can't go to TurboTax. And so some people saw that as a little bit elitist, but we wanted to get to the skinny. He said it was going to take him a couple of weeks, which, if you do the math, puts him past the Nevada caucus. Well, he's not participating in that anyway, but I think it'll put him past Super Tuesday, but maybe before the Michigan primary. Dennis LaPorte returns to the program, a partner at UHY Advisors, and can answer the question about such things. Thank you for being available this morning.
You're welcome, Michael. How are you today?
Good. Do you take the mayor at his word when he says, releasing my tax returns is not just as simple as everybody seemed to make it out to be?
Well, it depends. I mean, I'm sure that his tax return would be volumes as far as paper is concerned. But the way things are nowadays, a lot of that can be actually done electronically. So you could, email or download a copy of your tax return onto some website so everybody could take a look at it. So I don't really see that should be an issue unless for some reason he hasn't actually filed them.
If he were your client, would you tell him just go ahead and push the button? Or are there things that could or should be redacted? Or why would it take 2 weeks to get them ready, quote unquote?
Yeah, in many cases, if it was my client, I would advise them probably to stall as long as you can. The main reason is because there's pertinent information that's in there that, when you're talking about privacy and different partnerships and so forth of that nature, there could be various trusts and private foundations and those kinds of things that are involved in his tax return that would show up that you might not want everybody to know.
Okay, so they got to have a look at it, and I guess that's the nature of business. And on the other end of the stage, I don't forget if it was Amy Klobuchar, I think maybe, or Pete Buttigieg, who said, I probably could do my taxes on TurboTax. That's a dangerous thing for anybody to do, isn't it, or is it?
No, not necessarily. It depends on how basic your actual tax return is. A lot of people use TurboTax, and it's worked for a lot of people over the years. And in the past, I used to use that as well when I was doing my returns when I first started out in my career because it was pretty basic. But as you get more and more complicated with all the new rules and everything else, it becomes more important to actually have an outside advisor to help you prepare those returns to make sure that you're getting all the deductions and credits that you're entitled to.
And that's what you do at UHY?
Correct.
Okay, well, thank you very much. I wish you did have Mike Bloomberg for a client. That'd be pretty good, wouldn't it?
Yes, it would probably be a pretty expensive tax return, I'm sure.
He did say, too, now that you mentioned that, he said, I wish I could just send it out. It would save me a lot of money. So presumably there's a cost involved with preparing a gigantic tax return like that for public release?
Oh, yeah. Yep. Yeah. Because especially if somebody's going to have to go through it first and say, here's the various investments that we want to redact, or here's potential issues and so forth that we don't want everybody to know.
privacy and some sensitivity matters, too. Well, say hi to Tony Frabata for me, would you?
I will, Michael.
Okay. Dennis LaPorte, UHY advisor.